And recording is on. Hi Herbert, how you doing? Maybe.
Hans, how you doing?
Good, thanks. We were just about to start with some screen sharing here. And how is it I do this? It's the window, right? No, the window. No, the entire screen. That's, yeah. Share and
Yeah, coming up.
yeah, good.
There we have it.
So, switching to another tab here. So first, I wanted to show the Postgre support. So in order to get that running, I'm just gonna start a where did it go? It was working, maybe. Yeah, all right. Yeah. So starting from scratch, we have this model, and we go to the cloud forum and say that we might want a new server pair for this, and I'm gonna call it server pair 6 and PostgreSQL, so I don't forget, and I'm gonna use the servers that I already have and refresh that spot, and they got assigned port numbers, and as such they should start, and good, they seem to be running. And when I start them, of course they run towards the built-in Vista DB, which is a in-memory database, but that's not very efficient in any way. So I'm just gonna make sure that I use this server 6 PostgreSQL, which isn't Postgre as of yet. So the port for server is 510, and it says here 510. I'm gonna check server status on that one, so it's new, there's no version created. That's fine, and I can still, let's just upload this to see that the database was recreated, and that's then the database, the built-in database. So if I go to this MDrivenServer, yeah, it ended up on another screen and it won't let me go. And the built-in password is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, built-in, the default password. And I can see here that once it switches pages, that it uploaded one database, or database updated, and this is today's state. So this what the thing that I did right just now. But what I wanted to do was to switch the connection type. So I'm gonna, I guess I need to pause the app in order to switch the connection type. And then I have all these to pick from. And the one that I'm looking for is PostgreSQL. But when I switch from the built-in, it says SQL CE, but it's actually, it can be SQL compact, but since that doesn't run on Linux and things, we introduced the VistaDB for that purpose, because that's pure.NET. So SQLCE, the built-in is actually VistaDB, unless you do some changes manually to the files on the server. So that's good to know. But I want the Postgre, and in order to, I need a connection string for that, and I can't remember what that should be, of course. So I'm gonna do the wiki on, and let's see, Postgre something, PostgreSQL, and yeah, here it says how to install Postgre, because I will probably forget. It's a lot of things. And then you create some yeah. Let's see. So this is the connections trait. This form, localhost, looks strange. It doesn't have any. Yeah, I guess it's the wiki that has stripped my. If I were to guess, there would be semicolons where it's spaces now. Yeah, actually I've written it again here. Yeah, okay, that's. So let's see if I can use, yeah, if I remember my Postgre password. I will try to deduce that. So I paste in a connection string here. This is the Postgre admin app which I have installed. It seems to think that the screen is really big or something, because it doesn't really show anything. I'm going to try and restart it. Post. Okay, didn't find it, so it should be here. Let's try and do a CMD. And should have, yeah, that's the SQL, but yeah, and I need to run this to set the environment variables. I don't know why. Yeah, right. Maybe I just wrote run, but it wasn't supposed. I better log in. Change this. Postgre. So what I probably meant was something like this. And then I should be able to run this pgadmin. Okay. cd, yeah. Oh, cd, and it's called pgadmin 4, and something comes up. Yay. Oh no, it's still really, really small. Why would it be so small?
Maybe it adds up the total width of your screen and thinks you're on a high DPI environment.
Yeah. Preferences. Oh.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Okay. All right. Yeah, this is too small, and I can't figure out why it would make it small all of a sudden. Let's try and ask Google about that, or rather PGAdmin really small font. Oh, delete the PGAdmin and restart the. Okay. So PGAdmin 111. Change the font with Control plus and minus. Control plus and minus, plus and minus. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Right. Doesn't go very well, I guess. I'm gonna see if I have the password anyway to the existing database, and then let's see. I'm going off screen to my LastPass Vault, and the master password seems to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Good. So let's start the app, and hopefully we're running towards my existing Postgre database. And now if I were to send up my since I already have one model here, and I'm gonna do it change and send it up again. Gonna check the server status and upload the model. And then there was lots of changes because the database that I already had was dropped and recreated. And that's one way of doing it. But if you really don't want to do it this way and you want to start fresh from recreate the database, then if I F5 this, I will see that there's two. So the first one went to my, that's the model within this MDrivenServer, and that was used to evolve my local DB. Then I changed the server or the database that should be used by connection type and giving it a connection string. And then I sent up another model, and then it tried to evolve that one that already existed from its original setup. But another way would be to delete the versions so that the MDrivenServer is totally clean. And heading back to uploading the model once more, and then it shows up here as one only. And what happens then when I check the server status is that the database is actually, if there is anything there from start, is dropped and then recreated. So that's the way that we can trigger a complete recreate. Good. So now we're presumably running against PostgreSQL, and let's try to, if I were to start live edit on a turnkey server, I'm going to do a setup and choose the settings from MDrivenServer. Often I need to close this one in order to settings from so let's see, this one is closed, and then I'm going to this one and choosing that one and restarting. Yeah, so it popped up here. Now it's see, we will run against the MDrivenServer at port 510, and that's the MDrivenServer that's connected to the Postgre database. So that means that the this one let's see, so this one is then storing things when I do things here. Oh, show details. So here we have an error specific to Postgre, presumably. So I'm gonna do a notepad to paste that. Okay, so what it said was that column does not exist attribute 1 in. So we tried to do an insert to, why did we do A0? Okay, I'm not sure. All right, maybe. Let's see. Yes. So this is probably a good gotcha that when we switch this kind of connection big time like this, we will also need to restart the server. So I'm heading over to, can do that many ways, but one way is, I think, just to start them again, because if this application was the one that started them, it will kill them and then restart them. I'm gonna check how it's doing. I'm gonna upload the model. I'm gonna check it didn't do anything. Good. And then I'm gonna head over back to yeah, no, I'm switching windows like a maniac, but don't know how to do it. Right, now it seems to work. So if I were to put in values like that, I'm gonna just do some test data here. How can we verify that we are in PostgreSQL? Yeah, that's the question, because the UI in Postgre was really small. What we can do is, I guess, go to the MDrivenServer and use its debugging function like data in A0. And then I just created a few details. So I'm going to go to detail. Then I would get a search window, and I can see that those are the ones that I expected, that the ones that I created just now. Going back to data in A0, I also have the free PS query access. And using this, I can sort of write any OCL, like detail all instances, and execute. And for that, I also get what the SQL that we send to the server will be. So this is the SQL that we actually execute on the server. Let's see if I can get that was the one. The command prompt. If I should be possible to actually just use this SQL. Oh, can't you just say that you believe me that this is Postgre, and then I'll come back another time to show you the Postgre UI when it's bigger? I promise.
It says PG8 admin 4 in the top left. I can see that much.
Yeah.
So probably it's Postgres something.
Yeah. And we could try a few things just to stress it a bit. Add a new class that of course will be tables, and adding new things between them, and sending that up to the server now. Upload the model and just see what kind of SQL it's doing. Nothing really that divulges that it's Postgre, but that's just good because it's very standardy.
Yeah, look like just about any evolve.
Yeah. And
maybe small int isn't that common type, but
yeah. So one way would be to use the SQL. I wonder if there's a way to ask Postgre to say what kind of server it is. Let's see. PostgreSQL SQL for knowing its version, maybe. Okay, select version. Wonder if that works. In that case, if that works, I haven't tried this, so I could just use the debugger here, and from an action, that was a large window. From an action, let's say I have detail and SQL pass through, which is a way to circumvent all the MDriven niceness and just push any SQL into the server. And then we need to say what we expect to return from this. I guess it's a big string. And Yay, it worked. So, and there we see it, proven beyond reasonable doubt that we're actually in PostgreSQL 16.
Yeah, build 1935, 64-bit.
Yeah. So, and what's nice about this is that most things that I've tested, let me rephrase. I tested most things and it worked. What I mean by testing most things, like if I want to do a rename on this attribute 1, I was gonna save this so that it's, and I'm gonna rename this to something else, and set the former name. Yeah, now we don't have any data in it, so we won't see, but and if I were to upload that model, we can see that it first adds a new attribute, it updates. Yeah, this actually changes the attribute name, and then it drops the it sends an update moving the data to the new attribute, and then it drops the old attribute. So that works. And is there anything that usually we have trouble with SQL databases? I don't remember. I can't think of anything. Let's just assume that everything works until someone tells me that it doesn't. And if it doesn't, then Lars, we should email. Can you describe the new process of?
Yeah, we should email support@mdriven.net.
And
or you can also go to support.mdriven.net, and there will be, I don't think there is yet, but there will be also a support form there that is one of these where you need to find all the buses or something, a CAPTCHA, so we don't get a lot of other things. Now you have the things because you're logged in, Hans. I think you need to. Yeah. So, but there will be also an ability here to go directly to a form where you can fill in things and have a CAPTCHA and send your things in. And if you send an email, for example, or if you register on the form, the first email you will get for each ticket will have a link that you can go to the support site and see what's going on with your tickets without using a password. If you want to create a password, you just use that link and then you set a password, or you go here to the login page and reset your password, so that you'll have an ability to have a good overview of all your support tickets. And I think we're getting the hang of the team itself, so we will be more consistent in answering questions in the future.
Yes, very good.
I have a question though about Postgre, Hans.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to write a ticket about because you're online now, and that would be, have you also seen where is it easy to run Postgre on different platforms? And
Yes, so it's fairly simple on Windows. You just follow the instructions and install the stuff. It's just Google Postgre, and then you get the install, and then apparently nothing happens. And if you follow these few instructions, you sort of figure out what to do once nothing happened. So it's a bit Unixy, but I believe that there are installs for all major platforms, so that it's a good fit for running stuff more or less for free. and it seems that it's gaining popularity higher than MySQL. And I hear that big companies switch from MySQL to Postgre. So that's one of the reasons that we also choose to support it.
Is there like an embedded version of Postgre?
Nope. So we don't have any. It requires a separate server, so it's more like SQLServer and less like SQLServer Compact.
Have you had a look at, or if it's possible to install it as a separate thread, you could say, or a separate application, background application on an Azure web app?
Nope. I don't know if we can run it in a web app, and I would guess no, because it's a separate install. That it's an exe install that you need to click through. That sort of assumes there's a UI. But if we had a virtual server, it wouldn't be a problem. But I don't think it's a web app thing. But that's.
I was curious to see, maybe there's someone who's like created, because I think one can actually create like packages that can be executed on an Azure web app, and so that would be an interesting maybe setup for some to, instead of using the built-in Microsoft, because they're getting more and more deprecated. You could say the Microsoft embedded databases. But it's not a question that needs to be answered now. I was just trying to see if you knew this already.
We even confused Bing. That's easily done. But yes, and let's switch then to the thing that you also asked about. What if we want this server to be running on, where did it go? Here's my server. So we wanted to use SQLServer, but we wanted to use the alternative or legacy or older persistence mapping. So the main things that differs from new MDriven from old ECOIII, or when it comes to the persistence mapping settings, or that we now use the names from the associations as the keys, foreign keys, and we use the name of the class as the primary key, appended with ID. So if you have a class 1, you are nowadays, as we saw before, we will get the class 1 ID, and if there's a foreign key, it would be class 2 IDs, sort of. Prior to our switch to that new scheme, the old legacy mapping used ECOIII, and for the foreign keys, I think it still used the association names, but there was some difference. So to help with that, we have two alternate mappings, and one is the legacy mapping that I'm going to use now, and of course that, I guess I can use that against, no, that's also assuming SQL Server, so I need to have a SQL Server database. Let's see if I can get one. SQL Management Studio. Maybe it's trying to hogging up all the disk. or the memory or something else. Not sure. Oh, maybe it's looking for databases online which isn't online. Probably waiting for a timeout. And
Management Studio usually is quite slow to start, but well, not this slow maybe.
yeah, so no, sort of.
I don't think it connects to anything by default actually.
Yeah. Maybe it was just looking for updates or something like that. Let's see if I can resize the window. Well, I can't. God. So, suppose I have...
Possible.
Sorry?
It's possible even then to, I guess, to create a new database with the old format, right?
Yes. So this one is called new DB, and we'll be using the old format. So we're confusing everyone that wants to hack us. Anyone remember how to construct a connection string or find the connection string to a database once you have it? I sure don't, but this is the server.
I think they've kind of made that almost impossible for some odd reason.
Yeah. So we go to connection strings, connection string for SQL. So, and let's see if I can find one that I know by heart is right. ODBC and native client.
Kind of amazing that someone even had to create a website called connectionstrings.com just to handle this problem that people don't. There's no built-in feature.
No, it's the same for many databases.
I think it's something like this. And yeah, I'm gonna write it to a notepad first so I don't get confused. If I can find my notepad.
It was on the right side in the middle row, I think, but well, you have it there.
Yeah, let's see. I have one here. So that's the thing, and my database is called HK2022 dev. Okay, so the server is HK2022 dev, and the database is called new DB, and the trusted connection, and I feel like we need that part that says that it should use the logged in user, the current user, but I can't remember that.
Oh, is that the SSPI thing?
Yeah, trusted connection, Morse connection. My God, how many ways can you do this? Integrated security.
Yeah, that's essentially another way to say the same thing.
So let's see if this connection string works. It should go here, and we say that we are legacy, and we're gonna start the app, and of course now it's confused because this server has a lot of models, but it has points to a database which is completely clean, and if we were trying to upload a new model, it would sort of wonder what's going on. Why isn't there anything to find? Yeah, and maybe our connection string isn't all what it was cranked up to be. Maybe it's waiting for a timeout. Usually 20 seconds. Maybe a minute. Anyway, as I said before, I'm gonna restart the server because I did major changes. So start servers. Anyway, what I want to do is to clear all the current things in here. Now let's see, it did something. To delete. I want it to be without model versions because I want it to be in that mode where it actually tries to create. But I guess I have the wrong connection string. I'm gonna quickly go to another server and see if I can find the connection string format that we usually use. And once I find it, I'm gonna write it in the wiki. Possibly it's already there somewhere, but yeah, let's see. Yeah. Okay. Yes, we don't actually use the provider, and because that's an OLE thing, I think. And we say server, and we say database, and we say...
For what it's worth, I've pasted a sample connection string from our documentation into the chat.
Good. Let's see if I can get... Gonna delete this.
I was careful not to paste an actual connection string, but I had an example for demonstration purposes. That seems to be for my local SQL Express. I don't know if...
Yeah, but now it sort of worked because it was the thing with the provider.
Yeah.
Let's head over then to this one again and see what we got. So if I were to look at class 1 and the columns, see that I have ECOIII, which is the primary key, and ECOtype, and yeah, and this is, let's see, where's, no, the foreign key goes in this one because it was many in this end. So this is the way that the foreign key looks, just class 1. So okay, I guess it would be good to compare these. I can do a new database and call it newer DB. And then I would pause this and switch this to newer and switch this one to ordinary SQL Server, and then start that. And I'm going to remove this version in order to force it to recreate, and head over here and say upload. And now that was recreated, and in the newer we can watch what class 1 columns now has not ECOIII but class 1 ID. We think that's nicer, and it's easier for everyone to understand what it refers to. Class 2 columns has a foreign key called class 1 ID, and we think that's nicer too, and it's not the class as such, it's the association name, and we can prove that by changing the association name to the correct name.
And then if you were to set the former name there, it would actually also move it, but you don't need to do that now.
Yes,
So,
so if I were here and set former name, which is exactly what the rename function does automatically, if this one was class 1 before.
I think it was. So I think there is actually a real use for this. It wasn't just nicety. It was that if you use other reporting tools, for example, they usually rely on the names of one column in one to have the primary key name of the other one.
Yeah.
So it really helps in reverse engineering a database.
Yes, and when not having the model, it's much easier to first understand that everything that ends up with ID is probably most likely a key or a foreign key, and it's the name is probably the meaning of what it points to, not necessarily the name of the table it points to, because of course we can point to a table many times for different reasons, and that should be okay.
But other than the naming changing here, is the kind of strategy for mapping an object-oriented world onto the relational database more or less the same?
Yes, it's the same, and I guess you think about what we do with the inheritance and things like that. So that.
Well, I know very well what you do in inheritance and things.
I mean, we continue to follow what we have done in the past, child mapping and parent mapping depending on the settings.
Yeah.
And that goes throughout all databases, and that's no difference between Postgre or old and new legacy. So this could be good for you, Daniel, once you have an opportunity to recreate, start from scratch on a database. You could consider using Postgre. You could consider switching the persistent mapping. You could consider using the MDrivenServer to administer your evolve things, because that's the way we're going forward. And the reasons why is that there were too many options and it was too hairy to get things working without a pre-built persistence mapper.
Yeah.
And just before we end, there's the third option that was available to us. I'm not going to show that. I'm just going to mention it so that we have mentioned it. It's called SQLServer Ocean Manager's Eco Mapping. So why do we have that? Because one of the customers had chosen to use not integer keys, but rather GUIDs. So that mapping has GUIDs on everything.
Oh.
Can I just mention, so that no one thinks that's a good idea, that it is a horrible idea.
Yes.
So if anyone were ever watching this video, never use GUIDs as a primary key.
And the reason is it being extremely slow. Indexes.
Yes, you cannot create a functional, working, well-performing index at all, because it's just completely impossible to index GUIDs.
it's part of their uniqueness and their large value set. That there's no good way to do a hash from them. So
Exactly. You
can
cannot
never
you
do
cannot
10
simplify
buckets.
it. Yeah, so let's say you have 1 to 1,000 and you want 100 in each page. You can create 10 pages and you can put them in there. But there's no way to split, to simplify a GUID into something that can be like put in these buckets that all indexes build on. So it's a way to basically make your SQL server spend most of its time running around doing table page scanning all the tables at all the times and keeping it in memory.
Yeah.
So, no.
So
And I would surmise that trying to debug a database where the IDs are essentially 128-bit random numbers could be quite hard from a human perspective as well.
yeah,
So
at least it's irritating.
Yeah. So, but I think what they have done is basically confusing having a unique ID. We have unique GUIDs on every object by the default, but they are object IDs, and then so that they can move in between databases and be unique in the world. That is a great idea. But then you have exactly Hans. But then you have an integer in the local database for indexing. So there are two different problems, and I think they basically just confused these two into one.
And I think the SQL Server team, if they haven't already done it, will put a integer behind each generated GUID to mitigate the worthlessness of indexing GUIDs. But then they need to reshuffle them every now and then. So.
Exactly, and it doesn't really solve the problem because then you need to have a global lookup of the GUID into an integer. So then you need to have that for every object. So it's like the problem with it is that it's not really any, there are no like even mathematical solutions to the problem. If you have an infinite amount of like options, how do you take an infinite and put it into a block? Very difficult.
Yeah.
So.
But anyway, we're out of time.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much for showing up and listening to me sort of waving my arms, showing that we do PostgreSQL sort of, and SQL Server with different mappings. Good.
Thank you, Hans.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
See you in 2 weeks.
Yeah, thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yeah.